So today, or rather this semester, we are doing something unusual. So we made Xculture one of the client companies in Xculture. So we always have several external companies that come to us for help, but we also had a couple of strategizing meetings over the last few months. And so we realized that we may need advice, ideas, suggestions for Xculture as well. And so we thought, let's experiment and let's make Xculture one of the Xculture students crowdsourcing platform clients, and see if maybe we can get some ideas from you for our growth. And so I will talk today a little bit about the history of Xculture and what we do, things that we do very well. So there are several branches of Xculture that have been around for a long time. They're going very well. And so in those areas, we don't really need any help. I guess if you have any ideas and suggestions, we are always open to them. But we seem to be doing pretty well in some areas. But we also realize that we have tremendous, huge, big resources in the form of over 1,000 professors, over 100,000 former participants, and then several thousand current participants every semester. And we have a feeling that we are not fully utilizing this wonderful resource. And so we would like to get your input and suggestions and ideas for how else can we put to a good use this big international platform. And so I will share with you some of the ideas that we have and would like to work on, even started working on, but also maybe you can suggest more new things we can try. And for the things that either you suggest or the things that I will share that you think are good ideas, we need your help with the details. So how they need to be designed, the search for the market for these new product programs. So who should be using them? Whom should we be trying to offer them? And then also, how should we market them? How should we staff them? How should we price them if it's something for profit? So we need your help with basically developing the next chapter or the next direction at Xculture. And so I will start with a little of a historic overview of who we are, where we came from. And many of you probably know the basics, but I'll give you sort of the general history of our development, and then get into the ideas that we are contemplating at this time, and then also questions that we have for you. So the original idea for Xculture was rather primitive, I would say, or looking from today's point of view, it was very, very simple to the point of being primitive. The whole idea was that it would be a partnership of professors who teach international business and who would like to offer their students an opportunity to experience in real life what we are trying to teach through lectures, through readings, through maybe some videos that we show you in the classroom. So basically, so that when I tell you in the classroom that doing business with Ukrainians or Germans or, I don't know, Australians is different than doing business with with Americans. You would not only have to believe me, but you would also experience that in real life, and you will know from firsthand experience. And so I myself was teaching, still am teaching international business at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. It's an international place, but it's not quite as international as some other places. And so many of my students, especially undergraduate students, have never been overseas, or even if they went overseas as tourists, they have never been overseas, as students or as employees. So basically don't have international work experience. And so I did find myself in a situation where I would be lecturing about international business in front of my class in North Carolina, explaining the intricacies of international collaboration. And my students would be looking at me and not fully comprehending it. As I said, sometimes it's like, I was trying to teach them how to swim on a football field, right? You have to get in the water to experience and learn how to swim. Same thing, you have to have an international experience to understand international business. And so the original idea for the project was very simple. We thought that it would be I in North Carolina, for example, and maybe one or a few more professors in other countries. And so we will put our students in international teams. and give them something to work on, like any task, maybe some, hypothetical business plan to write up, or maybe some case study to work on. And so we thought just simply by putting students in different international teams with people from different countries, we will give them this international experience. And that's precisely what we did the first semester or two. So it was just some hypothetical case study they had to work on. And so the first time when we did it, we had 7 countries, 7 different universities. So it was a little bit bigger to begin with than I planned. I thought it would be just myself and another professor, but we had 7 to begin with. And then each semester there were more and more and more. So last semester, for example, we had close to 7,000 students from 180 or so universities in about 55 countries or so by the location of the university, and about 80 countries by the location of the students. So all 6 continents represented, very international. And so when we say we give students an international experience, I mean not just one other country, but usually it would be 5, 6 people per team, and usually there would be at least 4, often 5 countries. So definitely multiple countries, not just 2 countries. And so that was the original idea, and that's still the main idea of Xculture. So the whole point is to provide students with this international collaboration experience, not just going to a different country and tasting their food or admiring their architecture, but rather trying to work with them together. And so dealing with cultural differences, time zone differences, institutional differences, work ethics differences, and whatever other differences come your way, so that you can fully and properly experience the challenges, but also learn the best practices of international collaboration, especially collaboration online. So that was the idea. But quite a few things came our way, sort of in a way unexpectedly. So most of the developments have not been the product of elaborate strategizing, but rather it was our response to demands. Like, for example, one of the first big changes was that shortly after Xculture started, so like 2 years in, one of our professors was doing a consulting project with Mercedes-Benz. And so they were trying to come up with ideas, something related to marketing strategy for Africa for buses and trucks. And so they thought it might be a good idea to ask Xculture students if they can come up with some suggestions, ideas for this challenge. So they contacted me, and I loved the idea. I thought, well, that's much more interesting than just, hypothetical case study or a business plan for non-existing company. So I thought, yeah, sure, it would be nice to have a real client. And so we tried. It worked very well. And so, in fact, it worked so well that we even had, I believe it was 37 students, Xculture students, who visited the Mercedes-Benz factory in Istanbul, Turkey. They have a full cycle factory there. So we spent several days at the factory seeing how they make those buses and trucks from like a roll of metal all the way to where you put the key in the ignition and the engine starts for the first time. So very, very interesting, educational. So, and our students also came up with a lot of great business solutions, great ideas. And so they were really, really interesting and innovative. And at that point, we thought, hey, if they could do it for Mercedes, maybe they can do it for more companies. And so that's when we had our first sort of big, not so much pivot, but rather, a development. And so since then, instead of giving students some sort of a hypothetical case study to work on, we would have several client companies that would present challenges to our students, and our students would work on those challenges. The last several semesters, we would constantly push it to about 15 companies. And each time I promised myself that I will limit it at about 5, because it's just too difficult to manage such a large group of companies. The webinars alone take 2 weeks of work. And so this semester, we actually have a more manageable number. Depending on how you count, we have something like 6 companies, but Alibaba is represented by 4. So I guess in a way, it's still close to 10, but a more manageable number than usual. So that's good. So, but in any case, we would have a few client companies, and Xculture students would essentially serve as external business consultants, as interns, as researchers, as advisor consultants to business. And so this way, Xculture would be offering to students both the international experience, but also the business consulting experience. But importantly, now it became a sort of three-sided platform. So it used to be that it's professors who seek to improve learning in their courses and students who seek international experience. Now it's a three-sided platform. So you have professors, you have students, but you also have the business clients. And so over time, XCulture has become a pretty effective international business consulting platform. So we have served over 100 companies, and most of the time, the companies would be asking for help with ideas for how to expand into new markets. So most of the times, the challenge is we are company XYZ, we operate in this market. We may even be trying, or selling some products in some other markets, but we would like to expand globally. So could you please help us identify a new country where you think our product will be in demand? Can you please describe that market so we know what the customer tastes are, what the culture is, what the trade regulations are, what the competition is? Do the analysis of competition so we know our strengths and weaknesses. And then based on that analysis, suggest the best products, the best marketing strategy. If we need to hire people, where would we hire them? How would hire them? How much we should pay? If it's a physical product, what's the best shipping method? What are the import tariffs? Do we need to get a certification? And things like that, right? So very good, very interesting development. So now consulting becomes our sort of one of our businesses. And so while for XCulture students, participation is free, so we do offer the universities, your universities to sponsor us, but technically students, you participate for free. So when it comes to clients, we actually sort of insist on paying for the service, or rather supporting us in exchange, because it takes a lot of time to manage this project. Again, it's more voluntary. So if it's a small company, cannot pay, obviously we understand. But if it's a larger company, we would appreciate, and they gladly support us in exchange. So kind of everybody wins. So we get some resources to offer a good service to you, the students. So the companies get ideas, everybody wins. Another interesting development happened also about 2 years into the XCulture sort of tenure, and that was many professors started bringing XCulture students to conferences with them. So we all go to usually the Academy of International Business Conference, and then some of us may go also to other conferences. And so many professors started bringing XCulture students with them to the conferences, sometimes to present the XCulture report as a paper. Sometimes they would do some research based on XCulture student or observing XCulture students, and they would like to share the findings of that research. And so I think the first group of students that came with us was like 2011. And so it was like a small, sort of not really a group of XCulture students, but rather students coming with XCulture professors. And so at that time we thought, hey, maybe we should do something for XCulture students specifically. And I think it was 2012, maybe 13, when we had the first sort of XCulture track at the Academy of International Business Conference. It was in Florida at that time, Fort Lauderdale. Those who don't know, it's like a little north of Miami. And so we had, I believe, the first time about 30 students or so, and it worked very well. So we organized some specific activities for them. So we had some seminars and workshops on career development. We did some meetings with the local entrepreneurs and politicians and community leaders. And so that was a pretty good event. And so since then, we did, or for a while every year, we did an XCulture symposium at the Academy of International Business Conference. So the conference itself would be organized for professors, but we would have up to 50 students or so, and we would have like a separate segment for them where we would have like a separate competition, a separate client company, a visit to that company. We would have some workshops, seminars, meetings, and things like that specifically for them. Then after a few years, that group became so big that the Academy of International Business hinted that, well, if we allow you to bring all of the students you want to bring, then it will overwhelm the conference. And so instead of a sort of conference of professors, it will become like a student gathering. And so in 2016, for the first time, we organized a separate self-standing XCulture, as we call it, Business Week. So XCulture Global Symposium that lasted the whole week. It was also in Miami, just happened to be so. And so we had 150 students there. And so for the whole week, we visited, I think it was 4 companies, Port of Miami, Miami International Airport. We met with all kinds of local entrepreneurs and community leaders and people from the mayoral office and, things like that. So it was very interesting and very intensive, a very long week, so to speak. And so since then, we have been doing 2 X-Culture Symposia every year. So there would be one in the fall in the United States in collaboration with the Academy of International Business, and one in the summer that is a self-standing separate event. And so that one is bigger. So it's only X-Culture students and professors, usually about 150 students and about 20, 30 professors. So to close to 200 people total. And so we did those, as I said, in Miami, but then we did one in Macerata in Italy. We did one in Canada. We are planning next one in Thailand. We skipped a couple during the COVID years, but now we're back online. So we did one in Poland last year and then going to Thailand this year. And again, that too has become essentially like a separate program. So it's only for former X-Culture students and only by invitation. So we usually invite about top 20% or so. So at the end of the semester, we'll look at your performance. And so those who had the highest peer evaluations, the best reports, members of the winning teams as well. So we invite you to that event. And so those of you who are in X-Culture this semester, you will be getting your invitations soon. We will not wait until the end of the semester because the time to prepare will be too short, but we'll want to see your participation. So if you are not, going to team meetings, if you're getting low peer evaluations, you will not be invited, but if you do a good job, you will get the invitation. And so that's another development, another interesting thing. And so we also have done a few other things that are sort of completely new and have become self-standing programs, like, for example, the X-Culture coaching program. So that one is very interesting, and again, sort of has become a program of its own. So we had some X-Culture students who would participate in X-Culture several times in a row. So they would do it first as part of their course, but then they would come to us and say, hey, I really liked it. Can I do it again? I'm like, sure, I guess if you want to do it again. And then, can I do it again? Well, I guess so. Can I do it one more time? So when we had a few students who applied to participate in X-Culture for the 4th time, that's where I thought, wait a second, maybe we can do something better with it. So maybe we can ask these students, instead of being members of global virtual teams again, maybe we should ask them to be coaches, mentors to the X-Culture students, to the new generation of X-Culture students. And so that's what we did. And so again, the problem has quite evolved quite substantially since then. So now everybody can apply to this program, but we also select only the best students. So we would normally get about 400 applications or so, but then we would select only some of those students. And then those who are admitted into the program, they have to first complete 4 weeks of training. So there are 16 training modules that they have to complete. So we teach them how to provide effective feedback, conflict resolution, cross-cultural communication, how to prepare a webinar, how to develop a training module on paper, for example, and things like that. And so they spent 4 weeks going through that training and also completing and passing tests. And those who complete the training successfully and pass all of the tests become the coaches for the new generation of X-Culture students. And so we have about 50 of those people each semester, including this very one. And so again, if you will need help, you can obviously get it from professors, but we also have a large group of trained coaches who have gone through X-Culture before, but who also have completed additional training, and who can help you provide feedback on your work. Maybe if you have a problem in the team, they can investigate and see if they can help you. So basically, you have a free advisor, mentor, coach for X-Culture related questions, but also I hear that often students would ask about career advice. Sometimes they would ask about maybe, how to apply to a university graduate program, for example. So coaches would be happy to help you with that. And again, so it has become a separate program, a very nice and tight group. So they hang out all the time together. So they have additional meetings every week where they share the kinds of cases they handled. So they share experiences, they advise one another. So they do some fun things together. We also usually prioritize coaches when it comes to the X-Culture Symposia. So we have a group of what we call student ambassadors. So people who help us run the symposium. And usually we select those from the coaching cohort. And so again, many of the coaches have met in person. In fact, some of them attended several symposia. So we have a nice, strong group of those coaches. So that's a whole different program as well. One more I will mention, and then I'll get in the new ideas and where we need your help. Research. Research is a big component of X-Culture. So those of you who have just started the project, you will see that each week we will be asking you all kinds of questions about your team, about your skills, about your background, maybe. The reason we do that is because we have sort of the obligation to offer you the best possible experience and organize you in such a way that you have the best possible experience for yourself while also providing the highest quality suggestions for our clients. And so we would like to know why some teams do better than others, why some students struggle while others seem to be doing very well. We would like to know, what team size is optimal. Like, for example, we used to make the teams a little bit larger. So we started with like 7, 8 people. Now we go with more like 4, 5, maybe 6 maximum, because our research has shown that larger teams have a little bit more coordination and, communication problems. So in larger teams, chances are that too easy to hide behind the backs of your team members, so to speak. So it becomes a little bit less personal, a little bit less involved. So we made the teams a little bit lower because our research showed that smaller teams work somewhat better. Likewise, we want to know what composition works best. Is it advisable to have a team leader, or is it better when everybody is equal? Does it help if, for example, we encourage communication across teams or not? Does it help to have, for example, cash prize for the winning team and things like that? So to know all of those things, we would like to know about you. And so we would ask questions, as I said, about, have you experienced any conflicts in your team? How did you communicate last week? Can you give us or tell us how well each of your team members participated? So peer evaluations and things like that. And so this is both an administrative necessity. So if somebody is not participating, if somebody is, I don't know, maybe disrespectful or too bossy or too shy, so we need to know that so that we can maybe assign a coach to that case and see if help is needed and could be provided. But also, as I said, for research purposes, so that we know what can go wrong, what predicts problems and what predicts good performance, so that we can use this knowledge to manage the project better in the future semesters. And so we collect a lot of data, we publish a lot of research, obviously following all of the research ethics procedures. The data I used only in the de-identified form. So all the names are obviously not shared with anyone and deleted once the project is over. So we just keep the sort of the raw data so that we can study what's going on in these global virtual teams and what can be done to make the experience of the team members better and the outcomes, the performance more effective. And so for many years now, we have been running what we call the X-Culture Hackathon. So that's an event. We used to do it like 3-4 times a year, and now we do it maybe twice a year. And so that's an event where a group of professors, usually, although we've had some students in the past as well, would come to that event. And so we lock ourselves up for like 5 days in a dorm, usually, of a university. And we do research for several days from early in the morning to late at night. And so during that time, we sort of basically look at the data and try to discover new relationships. So what predicts performance in global virtual teams? Is it the team composition? Is it the personality of the team members? Is it the cultural diversity? Is it the time zone separation? What matters and what can be done to make it better? And so that's also a separate event now that we have quite a few people, both from the X-Culture group, but also externally, who would like to attend these events. It's become a separate program. So I'll stop here talking about X-Culture, and we'll talk a little bit about the questions and tasks where we need your help. Unless you have any questions, which you can put in the Q&A or raise your hand and talk to me. So anyway, all of the things that I've discussed, they work very well. So we have more participants than we can handle. In fact, we have to say no to some universities, to some companies, to some other groups. And so, like, for example, researchers, because, we have enough participants. But at the same time, we have a persistent feeling that we are not fully utilizing our resources. As I said, we have over 100,000 graduates. Many of them by now are successful business people, educators, experts, entrepreneurs. And so many of them, most of them, in fact, stay in touch with us. So they are following us on social media. They are subscribed to for our newsletter. Many of them attend our events, webinars, so they still stay in touch. We have close to 200 professors in a given semester, and over 1,000 professors have participated over the years. So some drop out because they retire, don't teach a suitable class, but most stay in touch in one form or another. Like, for example, many participate in our research activities, many co-publish work with us, books, articles, and things like that. And then we have, as I said, up to a dozen companies in a given semester, but also over the years, it's been over 100 companies that we have served. And again, we stay in a very good, maintain very good relationships with those companies. In fact, I don't think we had a single company over the years that didn't want to participate in X-Culture multiple times. Pretty much all of them participate again and again, also often to the point where we have to say no, just because we want to allow other companies to participate, but also we would like some variety among our clients. And, to be frank, if you Google, you can find a lot of X-Culture reports from the previous semesters floating on the internet. And so we would like to have new companies because it's just unfair. So some of you may go online, find all of the old reports, or at least many of them, and sort of, I'm not saying plagiarize, but sort of build upon those reports and I guess, have an advantage that way. And so we are trying to figure out what else we can do with all these resources. So some of the things where we have been experimenting are, for example, X-Culture for teenagers. So we have been doing it actually for a few years now. And it seems to be going pretty well as far as the program, as far as the feedback from the participants. So from the very beginning, we had inquiries from our professors who would be asking if they can enroll their children into the X-Culture project. And so for a long time, I was saying no, because we would like the teams to be a little bit more balanced in terms of age and experience. And so obviously there is a big difference between the X-Culture, university students and teenagers. But then a few years ago, we thought, hey, you know what, maybe we should try it. And so we had the first time, I think it was something like 30 or 25 students only. All of them were children of our professors, including my own kids. They participated in the first round. And it actually went very, very well. So the students had a lot of fun. Like, my kids would often stay online with their team members from other schools, from other countries, also their same age. I think my daughter at that time was something like 12 and my son was 15 or something like that when they participated. And so they were matched with people of the same age, and they would hang out, talk about music and movies and, anime, whatever they watch, all those, superhero cartoons. And so that was actually quite educational for them, educational for me too. Like, for example, I didn't know that I had to teach my kids how to write emails, for example. So they primarily, use like instant messengers, and so that's good for casual communication. But when you have to produce a report as a team, you need to use Dropbox, Google Docs, you need to write longer emails. And so my kids didn't know how to do those things. So I had to educate them there. So, but in any case, that went very well. And so since then, we have been running this track every single semester, including this semester. So we have a group of teenagers who will be placed on teams today, actually. So they're starting a little bit later. But we do have a challenge there, and the challenge is recruitment. So when it comes to the university program, we have no difficulties recruiting participants. So it works very well. We have the Academy of International Business. Most of the professors are members of that academy. And so all we need to do is just send one email a semester saying that we accept applications for the next semester. That's enough. For the teenagers, that's much more difficult. So there is no academy of school teachers or school principals. There is no academy of parents who would like to provide their students with more opportunities. There is no academy of students for that matter. And so we tried different methods to inform the world about this opportunity, but we didn't quite succeed as much as we thought we would. So we tried, for example, going school to school in different cities around the world. talking about X culture, and we discovered that while the schools, the teachers, the principals, the headmasters love the idea of their children participating in a project like this, but unfortunately, they don't have a way to incorporate X culture in the educational flow there. So what happens is it cannot be made part of their like English or geography class because they have a program to follow. But how else can you add X culture to the curriculum? And so we do have several schools each semester, but mostly they do it as a sort of like after school club. So they do it as, like they have an orchestra, they have a basketball team, they have a chess club. So they have like an international business X culture club. It works okay, but it's not as big as we thought it could be. Most of our participants are actually individual applicants. So most of our participants apply individually. And the story usually goes as we heard about X culture, we talked to our teachers and I don't know, principals, but they don't know how to incorporate X culture in the program. And so for that reason, can I apply individually? And so most of our participants are individual enrollees, so individual participants. And so that's how we do it. So most of the participants apply individually. Again, we offer some additional training for them. Unlike university students, most of them have never participated in anything like this. They don't have any business training. So we ask the teenagers to complete some training before we place them on teams, and then they complete the project just like university students do. And then at the end, we also have some sort of post-project reflection phase. So where they do presentations, where we do some sort of experience sharing circles and things like that. And then the project is over for them. So this is a program that we put a lot of hope in. So we think we would like, we want to serve this population, and we think we can offer a lot of value to them. But as I said, the challenge is we don't know how to advertise it. So we tried advertising online, and it's not easy for the reason that it's a difficult, complicated product. So studies show, and our own statistics show, that people pay attention to ads online for maybe like 1.5, 1.7 seconds before they scroll to the next post in their feed. And in 1 to 2 seconds, it's impossible to explain what X culture is. If we were a school, I would say, well, we are a school and everybody would know what it is. Or if we were like a summer camp or a book or an online course, that would be explainable with a couple of words. And I would say online course, everybody knows what it is. But X culture is not an online course. It's not a book. It's not a school. It's a project where we put people from different countries into international teams. They serve as global virtual consultants. They learn international, gain international experience. I need like at least 30 seconds to explain what it is. And so most people scroll through without even understanding what they sort of miss. And so we have a difficult time recruiting a large number of participants. Those who do read what it is and those who participate provide extremely positive feedback. So they're very happy, and many of them bring friends. And so that's how we have a sizable group of students participating. But at the same time, not easy as far as explaining what we are to a larger potential pool of participants. So that's where we might need your help. Another frequent request is online business courses. So we have frequent inquiries from students who participate in X culture, from parents of the teenagers who participate in the teenager track of X culture, from teenagers themselves, from the professionals, sort of adults, non-students who participate in X culture, who would say, hey, I'd like to learn more about economics, or more about marketing, or more about entrepreneurship. Would you recommend some resources, maybe an online course? And so we do usually say, well, go look for courses on Coursera or Udemy. And people did. And then they even said, well, why don't you try to look for those courses online? And I did too. And so we have sort of a strange situation where on the one hand, you have thousands of courses, literally thousands. But most of them are not any good. Like most of them, well, here is my textbook and here are the exams, or something like that. So like it's not really quality content. And so there is more than you can review and select what's good. It's overwhelming. what you find is often not good. So it's, on the one hand, there is a lot of stuff. On the other hand, it's hard to find something that is worth your time and often money, because often they cost something. And so what we are trying to do now, we are thinking maybe we should develop our own series of online courses designed to be basically college level courses, like, economics 101, marketing 101, business 101, management 101, entrepreneurship, international business, and courses like that. We certainly have enough professors to record video lectures and create quality content. We certainly have enough expertise and skills to maybe write an accompanying textbook or textbooks, or recommend existing textbooks. And yeah, I suppose we could offer something like this for free to ex-culture students who would like to learn more, and maybe even for some fee to external audiences. If this is quality content, and if it's sort of ex-culture certified, yeah, maybe we can even charge something, and so raise some funding that way to offer a better experience to ex-culture students. We are even thinking, and that's where, again, I need your help with determining if it's a good idea, but also how to design it better. We are even thinking about some form of a certified professional network or platform, where people, first and foremost, the ex-culture participants themselves, but maybe also open to anyone, where people can come to the platform and perhaps complete a series of tests that test their knowledge on international business, economics, marketing, maybe global virtual team collaboration, so which you are all going through now. And if they pass, they would be ex-culture certified international business professionals. And if they don't pass, they can take the course, prepare themselves, and then pass the test. And so we are thinking that this could be a platform where we could offer such testing and training, but also where perhaps those professionals could be listed and accessible maybe to potential clients or companies. So if I'm planning to do business in, let's say, Tokyo or Berlin, and I need a certified professional in, let's say, international business, I suppose I can place a job ad and I will get thousands of applications and will spend, a lot of time going through those applications. But maybe I could go to this ex-culture certified professional platform and see who's available in Berlin, and then know that, all those people have been certified, maybe not only once in the beginning, but maybe they also do some additional training every year, and maybe they take some additional training every year. And so as a result, they maintain their certification and qualification and go to that group. Maybe you also want to list both your bio on the platform if you pass, if you are certified, and include that information in your resume. So when you apply for jobs, you can say, well, not only did I complete my training at the university, but I'm also ex-culture certified professional, and you can find my profile on their website, on their platform. Maybe this platform could be used for professionals connecting with professionals, for exchanging ideas, for sharing advice, for communication, maybe even for a cup of coffee. If I'm traveling to Berlin, so let's see who else from my network is there. So maybe they can advise me on the best places to visit or have a cup of coffee together. Why not? So still very much an idea, but we thought, why not? We can do that. And so this would be a valuable resource to you, the students, but also to the companies that potentially might be interested in hiring you, either for a job or for a consulting project or for whatever other capacity they need you in. So those are some of the ideas, and that's where we need your help. And so we ask you to select one of our sort of existing programs, like the ones I discussed, maybe ex-culture for teenagers, maybe the online courses, maybe this certified professional program, or maybe all of them together somehow, fitting all in one. And analyze how competitive this idea is, who else offers something like that, what are our strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats, where the market could be for a program like this, how it should be marketed, how it should be promoted, how it should be sold, if there should be any price for it, and if so, how much, and under which conditions, how it should be designed and offered, maybe customized for different markets. So all of those ideas we need from you. And so I think I will stop here. You have the more detailed description and descriptions of both what we do, but also where we need your help in the challenge instructions. But yes, if you have any questions at this time, please do ask them. And if you don't, well, I'll wait for your ideas and suggestions. So any questions? All right, well, if there are no questions, it means one of two things. Either everything is clear, there is really nothing to ask, or nothing's clear, I don't know what he was talking about. I hope it's the first one. I hope everything is clear, and I hope we'll get good proposals, good ideas from you guys. So thank you everyone who was here. Darlene, Malak, Nicholas, Sarah, Sayed, everybody, thank you for being here. And yeah, I'm very eager to see what you come up with, what suggestions you will give to us so that we can better leverage and put to better use our resources. Bye.